WMC Memphis, WMFS HD2 Bartlett Memphis, part of the Memphis Sports Network with 92.9 FM ESPN, ESPN 790 AM.
Watch the sunrise, new day's dawning, and it's calling you and me, where the mighty Mississippi flows by Memphis, Tennessee. We've got woodlands, fields, and water. Hey, there is no better way. You can find out all about it on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Make some time, take the family, ask a friend, but don't delay. Listen up and learn about it on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Listen up and learn about it on Outdoors with Larry Ray.
Good Saturday morning. Welcome to another edition of the award-winning Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, Gaston's White River Resort, Sportsman's Warehouse, and Barton Power Sports. Now, here's your host, Larry Ray.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790. We've been talking a whole lot today about fishing, junior fishing rodeos.
It's that time of year.
It's that time of the year all over the state of Tennessee. Mississippi's got them. I've got a great list in Mississippi. You can find out all those things. But we're going to take a little break in between and talk about a subject that my good friend Tom Benson from over at the Tennessee Aquarium over in Chattanooga had alerted to me about a study that's going on, a 3-year study of alligator snapping turtles. And that's a coordinated effort with the TWRA and the Southeast Missouri State University, and they're doing a lot of it in our area here near Memphis. And we've got on with us now, thanks to Tom, is Josh Ennen. Oh, what are you doing? He's going to play Suspicious Mind for you, Josh. How about that? Huh? Oh, what now? That's
Intro
pretty cool.
music. I like that.
There you go. All right, Josh. Never been on the show before. He's got his own theme song here, you know?
It's your, you know.
But, hey, Josh.
Now I can tell everybody I made the big time. I got intro music.
You got your own intro music. You don't do that for everybody, but, hey, thanks for being with us. That's Josh, I know you're out of Chattanooga. Tell our listeners out there a little bit about the study and this passion for alligator snapping turtles.
Well, the alligator snapping turtle is a species of great concern within the state of Tennessee, and it has state and federal protection in a lot of areas throughout its distribution. And one of the reasons scientists are concerned about them is that in the 60s and 70s, they were over-harvested for meat. The turtle soup industry was actually really big in the 60s, and by some accounts, some trappers in Georgia were pulling 3 to 4 tons of alligator snapping turtles out of the Flint River daily. So you can kind of get a general idea of how many of these turtles are actually removed from the wild and consumed. And for your listeners, this kind of removal doesn't go on necessarily at that scale today, but in the late 90s and early 2000s, there was still about 64,000 individuals removed from the wild and exported from the United States into overseas markets. So they are definitely got hammered pretty hard over the past couple decades, and that's the one issue we're trying to assess is tell TWRA where can you find these guys and how many do you have within the state? Because if you want to conserve an animal, you need to know where it is and how many do you have before you can actually have a conservation strategy or a protection plan.
And you're doing it in West Tennessee. I'm assuming that we have our quota here, maybe more than other areas of the state.
Yeah, it's definitely the alligator snapping turtle loves the coastal plain region. It actually it gets into Middle Tennessee. There's been records all the way into East Tennessee,
Really?
a little bit north of Chattanooga, near Cleveland. There's actually one juvenile caught there, but a lot of people think that is a release. So, I mean, you can kind of get the general idea. We know that they're in West Tennessee. We know they're in Middle Tennessee, but we don't really know the extent of where they are throughout the state. But West Tennessee is definitely going to be, for lack of a better word, the honey spot. There's going to be a lot more there than anywhere else in the state.
And these are turtles that have a rather aggressive nature. I mean, they're known. If your name's Alligator, and you got snapping in your name, the only last name I know is Turtle. These are pretty tough critters.
Yeah, like most turtles, when you handle them, they're going to try to, they open their mouth and try to get you. But these guys are actually, they're not as aggressive as common snapping turtles.
Really?
One of the reasons for that is scientists think that common snapping turtles are more likely to go over land and actually confront or experience mammal predators, so they need to be more aggressive to fight off predators, and alligator snapping turtles hardly ever leave the water, so they're not nearly as aggressive as a common snapping turtle.
And now Dave Gabbard here with the TWRA in West Tennessee, I didn't realize the distinction between how you tell between a snapping turtle and an alligator.
The common snapper and the alligator, I call them, just this alligator snapper, the old loggerhead, the old timers called them loggerhead turtles.
But they have the three.
They got three ridges on the back.
Yeah.
Where the common snapper, just have that. And, but like Josh said, I have seen common snapping turtles in some of the weirdest places.
Really? Because they go on land. They don't go
far away. I was playing golf the other day.
Yeah?
And on one of the fairways, there's this big common snapper, and he was at least a quarter of a mile away, from the
any
nearest
kind of water.
Right.
And Josh, I know these. So the difference, an alligator, which one's bigger? And how big do they get?
Alligator snapping turtles are actually, they have a couple accolades. One is that it's the biggest freshwater turtle in North America, and males get bigger than females, and males can easily get over 200 pounds, but that's kind of now a rarity since they were trapped out pretty heavily a couple decades ago. So a 200-pound turtle is a big turtle.
And you guys have already been here, been doing this. Any results that you're finding that maybe surprises you? Because when you've had some of your students, or whether you've been out here doing it, tell us a little bit about what you do when they come out and you try to survey these things.
Well, basically, we deploy basic hoop nets with baited fish, all variety of fish. We put it in a hoop net. So basically, a hoop net is a series of 3 rings with nets over it and has a funnel in the middle so the turtles can get in but can't get out.
Yeah.
So we set 10 traps per site, and we check them daily, and we run them for 3 days. And basically, you motor up or you wade out into the bayou or slough, and you pull the trap and see what you got in them. And sometimes you have one alligator snapping turtle, and this year we've caught up to 3 in one trap, which makes it really interesting trying to get turtles out of one of those traps.
It does. And again, we're talking to Josh Ennen of talking about, he's a aquatic conservation biologist based out of Chattanooga, about a 3-year study on the alligator snapping turtle, and they're doing it over in West Tennessee. And you're hooked up with the Tennessee Aquarium? What is that?
Yes, sir. I work for the Tennessee Aquarium's Conservation Institute. I've been here for a little over 2 years now, and they hired me to be their turtle guy and salamander guy.
And tell me, how does somebody be a turtle guy?
Well, for me, I knew I liked biology and I loved being outdoors. I just remember as a kid, Mom said that I would eat breakfast and she wouldn't see me until she screamed it was time for lunch. So I always knew I wanted to be outdoors. I was always fishing or hunting and flipping rocks and looking for turtles and snakes and salamanders and things of that nature. So I always knew I wanted to do that. So when I got to college, the natural progression, it felt like, was to become a biologist, and which I did. And then I thought that was so much fun, I went and got my master's, and I thought that was so much fun, I went and got a PhD in biology. So you don't have to take it that far to play with turtles, but that's where I ended up doing.
And where are you from?
I've been all over the place. I call home East Tennessee.
Okay.
I went to high school and college in Maryville, Tennessee.
Okay.
So
And then it ended up at Southeast Missouri?
No, I have a good buddy that actually he's an East Tennessee boy, and he ended up being a professor at SEMO.
Oh,
so that's the
okay.
connection between the aquarium and SEMO is just a longtime friend that does the same kind of research I do.
Good deal. And, you know, and I can see concerns here. A lot of people say, well, what's the big deal? But I've heard, in fact, earlier in our show, one of the guys that was with us said alligator snapping turtle is very good to eat.
No.
Well, you can see by all the statistics I threw out, somebody thinks they're good to eat because there was a huge market for them a couple of decades ago.
Yeah. And so what's the results of your study? What are you finding so far?
So far, we've trapped several sites, and we've only found alligator snapping turtles at 2 sites.
Mm-hmm.
Which that doesn't mean much because we need to sample a heck of a lot more and go further around West Tennessee. So this first year, we're just focusing on the Wolf River and the Hatchie River drainages, and we're only, like I said, 2 months into this project, so we've got a whole lot more sites to look at to find these guys. But at the sites we did find them, the numbers are pretty good. So hopefully we can go back and trap those sites again and get really good population estimates for the state and give them abundance and survivalship estimates and things like that.
You could find out, I'm assuming, on the website tnaquad.org. Is that where you can find stuff about what you guys are doing? Because you mentioned the magic word there of salamanders and snakes and things along that line. The alligator snapping turtle is kind of like a mystic critter to me. I mean, is that right? I mean, when I look at them, I think this is going to be. This just came out. I always thought that what's his name in U.S. Marshals was going to get bit by an alligator snapping turtle when he ran through the Real Foot Lake up there. Because these things, I think they're everywhere. But so a quota. What's in 3 years? What do you hope to find?
That's a tough question because I never go really into a project with expectations of how many I'm going to catch. But I'm hoping we have a good time while doing it, and we can get some really good population estimates for the state so they can come up with a really good management plan for these guys. Since they're such an iconic, I think they're an iconic species of the Southeast. I mean, they're behemoths of the Southeast, really. They're prehistoric looking. And another cool fact about these guys, it's the only turtle in the world with a worm-like appendage on its tongue. Mm-hmm. So it basically sits still and ambush prey. It basically flicks its tongue when fish come too close, and that's where the snapper comes into the alligator snapping turtle. And
they get to be how old?
They can get, by some estimation, some people claim they can be up to 100 years old, some of the big guys.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Well, thank you, Josh, for being on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Very interesting. We want to stay in touch, and we'll kind of work together, and you can kind of keep me posted on what's going on. And, again, I've got to ask you, you told us something off the air. You hired one of your tell our listeners out there about your crew that you have. And you got this one young man that had a history of what?
We have a crew of undergrads and one grad student working on this project with us. We like training young scientists as well, and we hired a young man that said that everybody in his family is missing a digit, and he looked at me and my buddy and said, well, I always wondered how I was going to lose one of mine.
Hey, Josh, thank you, buddy. Have a great day. We'll stay in touch. Tell Tom Benson hello for me, okay?
Will do. Thank you, Mr. Larry.
All right, thank you. All right, let's take a break on that. What are you going to say?
I was just going to say, that's what I tell people interested in wildlife. I said, let me tell you 2 things about wildlife. If it's got a mouth and teeth, it's going to bite you. The second thing is, if it's got a mouth and doesn't have teeth, it's still going to bite you.
Still going to bite you. All right, we'll be right back on Outdoors with Larry Ray.
You can find out all about it on Outdoors